Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel. So we have a amazing, beautiful Aki brother here. Aki. His name is Jamal Stafford, and he's, he means so much in my life. Bro, how are you doing today?
Beautiful, man. Baruch Hashem. Thank you for asking.
So, dude, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'll start off by giving the Hebrew that I wanted to share. Achi, brother, haver, a friend, and a havruta, my learning partner. So it's good to be with my friend, my brother, and my learning partner.
Oh, you just hit my heart in so many ways, yo. So when we were talking earlier, we were talking about family.
Right.
And tell us, what does family mean to you?
So when you first asked, you actually asked me, what am I passionate about?
Oof, yeah.
And that's a vague question in a good way. It's like people are passionate about a lot of things. But I said I had to think on it, and I thought my family. When you see me, you see my family. That's pretty much how I can summarize it. Or I could summarize it by my grandfather's headstone, who's buried in Key West, Florida, which is where we all come from on my dad's side. So on his headstone, Bernie Elijah Stafford, his headstone says the love of family is everything. And so that's a big part of our lives, a part of my life. And so when you see me, you see my family. So yeah, we could start there.
I love that. Wow. I relate with that. You know, family is everything. And family looks, in so many different ways.
Right.
Hello, la familia.
Yo. We have a saying. It's just one of those common things you hear in the street, just passing by in this world as a sojourner. You hear the phrase, you have your kin and then you have your family. And so sometimes you have blood relatives that you don't know, and then you have people that you meet along the way that's like family. And vice versa. Some people are very close with their blood relatives, but they don't connect with people from the outside so much. But in our case, we have a very close, very strong family, both blood and those who have connected to our blood relatives. And so that's why I say when you see me, you see my family. Particularly my mom and my dad, my sister and my brother, and my niece, my wife, above everything else, Amanda, and our son that's coming into the world, making his entrance sooner than later. Bezrat Hashem, healthy, strong, and good-hearted.
Wow. Oh, that's such a blessing. Hashem. Mazel tov.
Word.
Okay, first of all, Jamal, again, like he said, we study together every Thursday night. And in the last podcast that we recorded with Lisa, I actually mentioned him in that podcast. And we often go on Thursday nights to Sumitra, but right now, of course, in the sukkah.
That's right.
But why I want to make a little segue there is how has being a part of Judaism helped you see family, I don't know, not maybe differently, but added to the pot, essentially?
So if I really sit and think about it, I have to say that we've just had such a strong bond within our family growing up. So my mom's side is in Hawaii, and I mean, that's where I was born. And then my dad's side is in Key West, although we're all spread out, Florida, Georgia, up north, out west, on my dad's side. But we had such a strong bond growing up. I found that a lot of the principles that Judaism teaches about family, the importance of family, the importance of continuity, all of the things you can learn, a lot of that we had. It was just a part of our lives. And so, for example, I didn't have to go to the Beit Midrash, or I didn't have to go, like, the house of study. I didn't have to learn the Torah. It was just like, these are some of the things that we kind of had. And so when I started to learn about them from a Jewish perspective, it was like, whoa, a lot of this wisdom that you can find in the Torah, you can find in the Midrash or in the Mishnah, or whatever source you're reading, you're studying, you can also find it out in the world outside of the Jewish community. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about Judaism is, at least the way I've learned, is that Judaism is one nation among the nations. And so a lot of this wisdom is just out there. You know, Hashem, if there's one Hashem, then that means that if Hashem is one, essentially we're all one. And so a lot of the feelings, aspirations, emotions, the lifestyles, family structures that you find in Judaism, you can find out in the world as well. And that was my experience. So I came into Judaism with a good, strong family foundation. And so when I was learning about it, it was like, wow, I can connect with this because this is what I have at home.
I feel you. Family is so important to me as well. And it's shifted and changed over years, and, you know, my closeness with family and new additions, of course. I feel like at the core, my granny and my mom, it all really, you know, like the heart was there.
Right.
And like,
this is your granny we said Kaddish for the other day?
Yes, which was actually mentioned in the last podcast.
Right.
So this is funny.
It was beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. My granny, she was a Leo. And
same as my wife.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There's just something about Leos, I will say.
Tell me more about that. Like, what's some of the character traits of a Leo? What makes you smile when you think of a Leo?
Heart of a child.
Yeah?
Literally heart of a child. Like the leadership qualities as well, the feistiness, but in a good way. Like, for instance, like my granny, she was, she would give the shirt off her back. Wow. But, you know, she was also very protective in the way of, like, you know, if she saw, like, there was, like, an injustice happening, she would be right there to be right by your side and fight for you.
Comfort you? Comfort
me, fight for me, like, whatever that meant. It was, like, this lion energy, you know? But, like, also that feistiness of, like, you know, like if someone says something couldn't be done, oh, she got that feistiness to be like, no, it can.
Did she have to set you straight a few times or what?
Honestly, we didn't have much of a relationship like that.
Oh.
I was always a good kid. I mean, there's like one or so time, you know?
Yeah, I was a little hard-headed.
Yeah. But like, she just, her and I had this soulmate bond, you know, from a granny and grandson type of perspective.
Wow.
And it was so close knit that, you know, like, you know, I knew, like, I will tell you one thing with Leos, they have your back for life. Once, you know, like it's unconditional love. And so if you're getting to know a Leo, they'll probably, like, you know, have to get your feel first. But once, you know, once there's that common bond and understanding, they're there for you for life.
Wow. Amanda, you heard that. Once they get to know you.
And I feel like the same thing with one of my best friends growing up. She's like my sister, Christina, like, who reminded me so much of your wife.
Oh,
like,
really?
And then I realized they're born like she was. Okay, so Amanda's born the 31st, right?
Right.
I think that's Harry Potter's birthday, by the way.
I have no knowledge of
Which
Harry
is
Potter.
hilarious. He was a Leo. But my friend Christina was born the 24th of the same year. So I just realized how that's why the energy is so similar. And I was like, whoa. But like, again, like, with Christina and I, we've always had each other's backs. That's the thing. And I know that's a lifetime thing because of just the energy behind a Leo, you know?
Got you.
And of course, what we build within our own relationships, you know?
I mean, that sounds kind of like she's essentially your family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So family, gosh, we could be here all day.
Literally, I would. I mean, really, when you asked me to do the podcast, I was just thinking to myself, what do I have to contribute to anything out there that someone would want to listen to? But when we started talking about family, it's just like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Because I could sit here and talk about my family all day. And I mean, we give people flowers when they die, but how about giving people their flowers while they're still living? And so it's like, that's what I want to do every opportunity I get. If I can talk about my family, that's who I mean, to anyone really who has love for me and I have love for them, I want to give them their flowers every single day. I mean, growing up, when you lose friends and you lose family early, it changes you. It's like you don't want to let time pass without letting people feel like I was really, really there. You know, it's not like I just want to say, okay, I'm thinking about you, but I don't actually spend time with you. I don't actually call you. I don't actually go to you. I don't give you your flowers. So it's like whoever I connect with, I want to give them their flowers like right now, today, tomorrow, the next day. Here, I love you. I care about you. And so my family particularly, I mean, there's a lot of people, a lot of friends, good people who've been in my life that, especially when it comes to Judaism, people who have kind of showed me the way as far as even how to interact in the synagogue. I could tell you some pretty cool stories about that, but it could be anyone that I connect with, but especially my family, my mom and my dad. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be in this position in life that I'm in right now. If it wasn't for my sister, I wouldn't have got out of some pretty dark places that I was in my life. If it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't have eventually come to this place where I feel like, oh, I have this older brother who is above me now, because all my life I was the oldest, but I always would tell myself, man, I just wish I had an older brother. And then later on in life, I come to learn that I did have an older brother. That's a whole other story. But he came over and moved with us from Germany, and so it was like, now I have an older brother, and learning that we come from different cultures. It's like, all right, I need to see outside of just my own lens. Like, how can I connect with my brother, coming from Germany? And so a lot of who I am is really, if you strip away my family, you don't have me anymore. You have something else. So, yeah, I'm giving them their flowers.
Why don't you tell us a story that lights up your heart about your family?
All right, so I got to be careful sometimes because statute of limitations.
Oh,
shoot. All right, I'll share one story. It was during high school. Excuse me. So I was in high school. I played sports. I was on the basketball team, the varsity team. No, I'm sorry. This year was my junior varsity year. So I got in trouble that year. I stole out the mall.
Oh.
So I had to basically, I wasn't taken to jail. I was arrested at the mall, but I was released into my coach's custody because my coach was a state trooper at the time. So I thought he was going to beat me, honestly. So
I don't know if that's lucky or not lucky.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I was afraid of my dad, but I was more afraid of my coach because he was one of them. He didn't play games. So anyway, so they let me into his custody, and I got to go home, but we had to forfeit that game. It was our only loss that year, and it was essentially my fault. So I'm getting ready to get home. I'm knowing my dad's gonna go off, but this guy, a family friend, who again, your family is more so than your blood, went out of his way to come talk to my dad, talk him down off the ledge from going off on me. And so my dad was calm by the time I got home, but he told me this year, this was, before my Jewish lifestyle. So like, of course today I don't celebrate Christmas, but growing up we celebrated Christmas, and my family still celebrates Christmas. And, I wish them Merry Christmas every year. They wish me Happy Hanukkah. But this year in high school, my dad was calm, but he told me, you're not getting any gifts this year. So what he did was he took the money that he was going to give for me to buy my gifts and said, here, you got to go and buy gifts for everybody who helped you out of this situation. Because there was a few people who basically helped me, my coach, the guy who came out of his way to come talk to my dad, talk him down. This was a family friend that my dad grew up with since they were in like 5th grade. So I and then I got him and his wife, because, he had to leave his wife's house at night to come talk to my dad. He ended up getting a parking ticket outside of our house. And then my coach, and there was a few others who I'm not remembering. But anyway, I took the money and bought them gifts that year. So that's the kind of like family dynamic and background that I come from. And so like a lot of these principles that we learn in Judaism about stealing and about thinking about the other, Dedek edits, like decency, thinking about others, it's like you learn these things in a text and a source. But mimetic learning, like learning from others, watching how they are, or just learning by doing, the Jewish phrase I can think of is na'aseh v'nishma, is we will do and then we'll understand, or literally we will do and then we'll hear. But to hear is like to understand. And so it's like you'll do something and then you'll understand it. This is how my dad taught me. You shouldn't steal. You don't want to do this. You don't want to cause other people to go out of their way to try to get you out of a situation when you could have just done right the first time. And in that regard, you learn obedience is better than sacrifice, for example. And so that's a little bit of my family, a little bit of Torah. So
that was beautiful.
Thank you.
That is a really cool way to like, I don't know why, but that is just so Jewish. Like,
Yo.
Like your dad is amazing.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, really is my mom and my dad is the reason why I became Jewish. Because it's like my mom, she always told me, don't be your own worst enemy. Just and we learn about these type of concepts in the Torah of, you're not even allowed to speak negatively about yourself, much less do something against yourself negatively. Guard yourself is the pasuk, the verse in Deuteronomy. And guard yourselves and guard your souls. And so there's all type of halachot, or the word halakha is Hebrew for Jewish law, or literally the way you walk. And but you have all these different principles of don't do something against yourself. And this was what my mom burned in my head every day. Don't be your own worst enemy. Or my dad, like this story I just told, or my dad would never let me go a day without hearing, have your own mind, don't follow your friends. And, there's all type of concepts I could bring up, being the head, not the tail, like don't follow or have your own mind. I mean, geez, all of the books written about us being the people of the question, we ask questions on top of questions on top of questions. It's like, don't just accept things. Don't just follow things. Have your own mind. And so I tell people all the time, my mom and my dad are probably the reason why I became Jewish.
I love that. Oh, man. I can relate, especially with my granny and what my mom and my granny really instilled within me. And also my grandma and my dad as well. But I totally get it. Wow. What I was going to ask you is, as you have been raised in all these different, beautiful things you were taught by even just that story, you know? What do you feel like you're building for your child?
Man, I mean, those are just big questions you sit and think about. I mean, ever since I found out that my wife Amanda was pregnant, it's just like, oh man, you know, what type of father am I going to be? What type of world are we going to create around him? You know, will he be happy? Will he feel satisfied? You know, will he have a space to grow into the fullness of himself and not feel constricted and you know, have a sense of individuality, but also have a sense of family. Like, I'm a part of something bigger than myself, but also not to get lost in it to where he loses his individual self. And if I could go on a quick tangent about the lulav and etrog, I think that's right now we're in the holiday of Sukkot. Moadim l'simcha, everybody. You know, happy holiday. But I think that's one of the images that you have in the lulav and the etrog is you have the lulav, which is bound together, the palm branch, the myrtle, and the willow. And then you have the etrog, the fruit, which is not bound in with them. You have to put them together when you wave the lulav in the sukkah. But I asked myself, why is it that all four of them aren't bound together? But I think that it teaches, or it's possible it teaches that you have the one etrog off by itself, but you also have the lulav, which is bound together. And so the imagery shows you that you don't want to lose, or you don't want to pick one or the other. It's like both are important, the individual and the community, the individual and the family, the one and the many. You know, you think of the word universe, one in the many. So it's like, it's all important. It's necessary to teach you about yourself and about your connection to your community, whatever it is, whatever spiritual community, whatever family, whatever structure you find yourself in. It's important not to lose yourself in it, but it's also a great thing to be a part of it. So, but in regard to my own family, that's a part of what I think is important going back to my son is I don't want him to lose his individuality, but I also want him to feel very deeply connected to our family, to our extended family, both on my parents' side, on his parents' side, and ultimately with Am Yisrael, with the people of Israel, to know, like, to have his own space within that context. So, yeah.
You know, it's interesting. So back in 2019, beginning of 2020, I actually took a job where I was watching 3 kids, and it was interesting because I almost had to play the role of a father. Essentially, I was taking them, you know, everywhere, going to school, to football practice, cheerleading practice, like, you name it. It was, you know,
Did you have to feed them?
All of it.
Yeah.
And I was the standing piece in their lives.
Yeah, I don't think they'll forget that.
And what was really interesting is I'm not a father. What? Okay, I got to step into this role. Essentially, I mean, like, I'm not their father, but it's a father role. Like, you know, and I'm just like kind of reviewing everything, you know, within Judaism, what I want to teach them, what was I taught, all these different things. And then I picked up this book because I was like, why not read something and see what wisdom, you know? And it was so interesting. Had no clue what I was picking up. But it was a book about parenting from a Jewish perspective. Well, it wasn't like the primary focus, but this person was Jewish, and he was explaining how it opened up with kind of like a story about him at a restaurant, and he had all the kids there, and they were being nuts, and it was so funny because I'm like, this is my life, okay? They don't stop, okay? And I'm like, okay, how does this end? And it plays out everything that's going on in the physical as well what's going on in his mind. And how he was so rigid that he wanted to control everything.
Right. That's recipe for disaster.
Exactly. And I felt like that sometimes because I wanted to protect them. I wanted them safe. I knew that their boundaries were not that great, but it was also a reflection of myself because I wasn't being able to trust myself that they would know what to do. And so I really worked on that because I had seen them do some things that like went outside my comfort zone of them making sure they're okay. And so it's that interesting flow, you know, of finding peace within yourself and also this peace between you and Hashem that like, you know, allowing yourself to just step back. And what he was saying in there was like literally that. It was like he's like, I'm controlling everything and because of the reaction that I had, my kids just freaked out. Because, you know, like something spilled on the table and they were acting rambunctious in a restaurant and all these different things. And after that, it woke me up. And I was like, how do we come back into center? How do we do this?
Yeah. They feel when your reaction, like if I say everything's fine, but my face says everything is not fine. They hear that before they hear what I said. Everything is fine. Mm-hmm. You know, they pick up on things deeply. Kids are special creatures in the world, and they can just like feel things. They know things. They may not be able to articulate it as well as an adult, but excuse me. Yeah, so they may not be able to articulate it as fully as you know, an adult would, but. Well, sometimes they can actually. It just depends on the kid. Yep. Yeah. But they really have a good sense of intuition. I think as they grow up and they grow up in this world and they experience some type of reaction to their natural abilities that makes them feel self-conscious, they almost lose it because the world makes them feel like, oh, no, that's wrong. But really, it would be a good thing to keep that inner child active and alive as you grow up, because that sense of intuition can save your life, can save you from bad situations. And I just see kids exhibit that so well, more so than adults who are worried about what people think about them and feel about them and trying to fit in some type of mold that society has made you feel like you're supposed to fit into. I mean, I'm even guilty of that at times. It's like I'm every day trying to find a good balance of breaking out of these molds that I feel like don't fit me without doing something that's going to harm me, because I have to realize that at the same time, I do live in this world. I'm trying to make my way and navigate it in a way that I can prosper at the most, because at the end of the day, I want to be able to take care of the most people possible. And I know that there's just certain things that come with that. So, but kids, on the other hand, they don't have those responsibilities of thinking about caring for the most people possible. They're the ones who need to be cared for. So that sense of intuition that they have, if a parent comes and exhibits that erratic behavior, like, you know, freaking out over spilled milk, essentially, they're going to learn from that, and they grow into that. And it's like, those are the type of things I'm thinking of also. Like, just got to be chill, relaxed, strong. Basically, what I pray for my son every day is what I pray for myself. And I didn't start praying for myself in that way until I started praying for him that way. Every day I started asking, please, may he be healthy, strong, and good-hearted. You know, I just, everybody wants their children to be healthy. And so just for a quick second, I wanted to say something in regard to a topic that I don't think gets spoken about a lot, which is, I guess I could just summarize it with a phrase of ableism. Yeah, it's kind of off topic, but I just thought about it when I asked for my own prayer for my son for good health. Yeah. But there are many, 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 many people out here in the world, friends and family, who don't have what everybody would consider as perfect health, but there's still it need to be recognized and be included, and everybody needs to help find ways to be as inclusive as possible for that community, the people who are dealing with whatever physical or mental situation that they're dealing with. And sometimes ableism, the concept that it just the standard or the assumption is that everybody is healthy. So, but I just wanted to say that kind of as a side note. But my prayer for my son is that he's healthy, that he's strong, because you have to be strong in this world, because the world is hard and difficult and violent, and there's just things that a person can go through that can break you to the point where I feel like a lot of us are functionally insane, because like any one thing that any of us have dealt with is enough to just say, I can't live anymore. But somehow you had to keep going. You had to keep pushing. Like,
resilience.
Yeah, it's a part of the human makeup. But that's why I asked for him to be strong. And then good-hearted is because sometimes that strength that you build up can make you callous also. And heaven forbid that we would be so strong that we're just callous and you end up becoming mean-spirited or even, violent and aggressive living in this world. So it's just like, I quote this all the time, and sometimes, depending on who you talk to, it could be problematic, but I'm free and I could say what I want. But, and I'm thoroughly Jewish. So if anybody presses me about, using a reference from Jesus, I would just simply say he was a first century Jew and leave it at that. But there was one thing he said that I always kept in my vault, something to the effect of, you have to be shrewd as snakes and innocent as doves. And essentially it's like the paradox of you can't be weak, or you can't be too overly humble, and you can't be too overly violent and aggressive. You've got to find a balance of being smart, being strong, but also not letting that make you go too far the one way and being overly aggressive. It's like you still keep that innocence still. So yeah, those are my prayers for my son.
It's funny you should bring that specific topic. And
wait, which one?
Well, this idea of balance.
Oh, right.
Because we're in Tishrei, which means we're in Libra season. And in the aspect of like the sun literally just went into Libra the other day. And what Libra really brings to the table is the balance between the heart and the mind, which I find is so beautiful, because like it's not like we should disregard the mind.
No.
The mind's a beautiful, beautiful like tool. And it's part of our soul. But our heart, it's a different way of feeling things, kind of like what you were talking about with kids. They live through their hearts. Like the mind's not necessarily developed yet,
right, right.
Like, so it's like, and I feel like we grow into that mind, but we always have access to our heart. And that idea of balance, I look at it is like this. It's like you don't want to just keep walking the straight path. You kind of want to like for experiences, like it's almost like you walk back and forth, essentially balancing out the scales, and it becomes this like, rather than all on one side or all on another, or just like perfect. We can't be perfect. No. It's impossible. Like we're perfectly imperfect. Right. And having that like that navigation, which would be that kind of like tiptoe to the left, tiptoe to the right, just keeping things rolling, Exactly. We're
Halakha.
walking. Exactly. You got me, bro.
Yep.
We're walking that path of halakha.
Yep. Yep. There's a phrase I came across. Lelechet b'derek shel Avraham Avinu. To walk in the way of Avraham Avinu.
Wow.
And like the way of Chesed. But, that's just one midah, one character. You can go another way of like strength or of courage, or all of it is about experiencing life.
Yeah.
So I love that image you just pictured or painted of like going this way, that way, this way. It's kind of like the pendulum.
Yes.
Movement.
Yep. Because if we're literally in the middle and we're not moving, we're stagnant. And we're like
the clock has stopped.
And it's like, yeah, okay, so what would be consistent in that perfection would be angels.
And we are not.
We are not. We get to access it for a day on Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
But
well, we get to actually mimic it somewhat 3 times a day when we stand in the Amidah.
Very true.
Like we're trying to reach higher. What's the phrase in the Kaddish? Le'ela, higher and higher. So, or Le'ela in during Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, but the rest of the year it's just Le'ela, like one. It's just like higher. But Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, it's higher and higher.
Yeah.
So we're trying.
Oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. Do you have anything else you want to say in regards to family?
Like I said, I could go on forever. So, yes, I do actually.
You got the floor.
Yeah. So, I go on walks every day with my niece. She loves to go on walks, and we talk a lot about different things. And we also talk about missing my mom and dad because they live in Key West. That's, like I said before, that's where we all grew up. But I tell her all the time, even though they're not with us here physically, we're always together, spiritually, mentally, like we're always together. We're always thinking about each other. And it makes me think sometimes about this world we live in, the 3D world, how much of an illusion it is. Yeah. I'm not going to go too far with that because like if somebody cuts me, I'm going to bleed. But at the same time, I wonder how real it is when I tell her that. Like we're together spiritually or we're together mentally. Like if I close my eyes and think about my mom and she does the same, is there something happening that I can't see that's real, that we're connected and we feel each other. And so it's like, I don't know 100% because I can't see beyond what I can see, but I'm very hopeful that what I'm saying is real. So I'm telling her these type of things, kind of like be'emunah and faith, but like I'm hopeful every day that it's like, yeah, my mom can feel me when I'm thinking about her. My dad can feel me when I'm thinking about him. My brother, who is probably at home right now, building something or fixing something because he's just like a master carpenter. I mean, I was shocked when my dad was showing me videos of his flat. Essentially, he took it from the ground up and just like made this place that is just unreal. It's unreal how good it is, and he did it all himself, by hand, by himself. Wow. And I mean, it was incredible. I was so floored. He floors me probably the most. I grew up with my sister, and me and her are like tight like this. When people ask you, what's the earliest memory you've ever had? Before I talk about her, let me ask you, what's your earliest memory you ever had?
I mean, it's super, super clear. I have one before that, but like it's not a great memory, so I'm gonna go with the one at 3 years old.
How old were you? You just said 3.
Yeah.
3. Got you.
I was 3, and it was a happy memory of me literally sitting on my kitchen table. It was Halloween. Mm-hmm. It must have been near my birthday. I must have been almost turning 4, I feel. Because my birthday is a week away from Halloween, and I had all the candy on the table, and I was trying to sort it because I love sorting everything.
Yeah, my niece does that.
But yeah, that's like the most joyous early memory.
Nice. And you were 3. So
I was
that's really
3.
early. I think they say, 3 to 5 is like, maybe 3 to 4, 3 to 5 is the earliest, but people don't really have memories, good, clear memories before that, although it's possible, I'm sure. I mean, like a star seed or a clairvoyant child or something. Remember their birth, for example, like coming out.
I remember that other one was at probably around 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was in my crib.
Yo, what planet did you come from?
I've been asking myself that quite some time. Maybe Arcturus, who knows?
Right. So, if I think back, my earliest memory, it wasn't some of the greatest memories. There was a little bit of violence involved, but my point in bringing up my earliest memory is to simply say that as far back as I can remember, my sister was there, even though I'm older by 16 months. But essentially, it's like my mom just said this yesterday. She felt like she was raising twins, which I never knew she felt like that. And it's nice to learn new things about your parents as you grow. But yeah, she's just always been there. So I know my sister well. I know she's feisty. She's brilliant. I've always felt like she was my older sister, even though I'm the oldest, or was the oldest until my brother came along. But I always felt like she was the oldest because she just seemed to be more mature. She seemed to be stronger. I was just super emotional about everything. She just had a certain way about carrying herself, which was more mature. And so I felt like I looked up to her, still look up to her. She had trials where she was really sick for years with, autoimmune stuff. But through all that, she was able to, have a child, been raising her child, going to school, working just like amazing jobs, at the bank and at a dentist office and doing hair, nails, spa, just incredible things. And then ended up completing her bachelor degree. And, now she's up here, living in St. Pete now. So it's just a blessing, I feel like, to have my sister close to me again, physically. But I'm just bringing her up to say I know my sister very well. But my brother, I didn't grow up with him. So he grew up in Germany. This was, he grew up, his mom is German, and he's German on his mom's side. And my dad, was in the military and, had a child out there and always was connected to him, but just, he moved away from Germany, a lot of history and that, I don't have to get into, but he grew up in Germany, my brother, and we grew up over here in the States. And I didn't find out about him until I was like 12. And so, yeah, when I met him, he didn't speak English. He spoke German. Or he still speaks German. So, but in any case, I'm learning about my brother still. He came here when he was 21 and now he's 40 and he learned English, super quick. And, unfortunately I didn't learn German. I could contribute more so towards his culture. It's just that it's easier for him being immersed in English. I'm sure if I went to Germany, I would pick up more than I have now. But in any case, I'm learning still about him every day. And what I'm learning recently is how well he's able to build things. And like I say, he's a master carpenter. So yeah, that's my brother, also a musician, randomly just busts out a guitar but he picked it up from scratch and learned it from scratch. And now he can just play just beautiful tunes. I have a couple of recordings I'll show you, but
that's amazing.
Yeah. So you asked me if I could speak more about my family. So I'll go on forever. So I'll end with the walks with my niece. Like I was saying, we tell her she miss her grandparents. I miss my parents, but we're always connected. And that is the spiritual, mystical side of Judaism that I love and connect to, is just like connecting with your family or even people who have passed on, the ancestors.
Yeah. So
I hope that the things that I'm sharing with my niece on our walks are beneficial for her to help her cope with missing her grandparents. And so Bezrat Hashem, they'll come and move up here sooner than later.
I love that.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Words of wisdom with Jamal.
Yo. Yo.
Hey, that could be the title. Oh, man, bro, thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of Energy Speaks. Like,
glad to come and just blab.
Like, it was so funny.
Cathartic experience.
It was so funny because he listened to some of my podcasts and he's like, dude, I love it. And then I was like, man, you'd be perfect for being on Energy Speaks.
Hello, divine, beautiful souls. Yo, I love that intro.
Thank you.
I say it to myself in the shower like a lot.
So it all comes out. I don't know. That's my sacred space as well, is the shower.
Yo, the water. Anytime there's water. Hold on. Let me go on another tangent real quick. Real quick. All right? Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
We have a lot to be thankful for. We've got clean water. We got hot water when it's cold. We got cold water when it's hot. We've got shelter. We've got transportation. We got medication. We got communication. We got so much. Sometimes you could sit in your bathtub and just like run the water. Just run it and don't stop it. You could let it run for days and it's still there. You know what I mean? Like certain people, certain places, like I have a close friend, who grew up in Jamaica. They, in certain areas where his family is at, they still don't have running water. Wow. You got to walk miles to go get a bucket of water and bring it back to your house and then use that for whoever needs it. And if you run out, you got to walk back and go get more. So I could sit in my bathtub right now, which I don't do that. I don't, in Judaism, we have this concept of ba'al tashkit. Don't destroy. Don't be a master of destruction. So it's like you don't want to waste stuff. So you don't want to just let your water run forever for no reason. But I could, if I wanted to, I could sit there and let the water run and it will be hot the whole time. And if I wanted it to be cold because it's hot outside, I can turn the heat off and it's still running clean water. Although, the water here is a little, yeah. Anyway, St. Pete, we love you. But maybe I need to invest in a filter. But
I know someone for that actually.
To give him my info because St. Pete's water is crazy. He itching a little. But anyway, we got a lot, man. So it's wild to think about. Like we have a lot to be thankful for.
Yes, 100%. I like this ending with gratitude.
Yo,
like this is beautiful.
Kind of like your convo with Lisa.
Exactly.
Tune in later at 6.
Well, this won't be presented until sometime in October.
Right.
But hey, it'll probably still be tuned in at Sunday at 6. There's that little hint for y'all. Well, thank you, Jamal, so much.
Most definitely.
Thank you, listeners, everyone out there. Like it makes this possible by you listening, and it spreads this like energy wave out into the planet. I just want to say one other thing with this. It's so funny. So I like to look from time to time on my Simplecast analytics for Energy Speaks podcast, and I wanted to see like the geographical locations that it's like reaching. And the number one country, of course, is the United States. But you know what number 2 is? India.
Really?
Yeah. Number 2 is India. And
I would have never guessed that.
I was like, whoa. Because at first I saw, a couple episodes to listen to in Israel and, in like England. I saw Germany on there. Well, England was with Northern Ireland as well, wow, which was interesting. And then I thought, there's a couple, Canada, of course, yeah. And then it trickles down, But the fact that I saw like large numbers in India, I was like, cool. So it's like, like I say, it is true. Energy speaks, and it can be spread out to every corner of the entire universe. You know? And that's why when we're on here, I like to use words of building each other up, because that energy spreads out to the four corners of the entire universe. So on that note, thank you all, everyone of all existence and all time, for being you and just being a part of this beautiful planet and beyond. Have a great day, divine, beautiful souls. Shalom.